I'm going with him.
If you ask, we will not allow it.
So we'll mostly do that, but I'll start with just like a general beginning of the season thing, if that's cool, which is just like, how would you kind of describe the relationship between Rand and Egwene at this point in the story? Like, has he been cheating on her with Lanfear all of last season? Is this kind of, does she feel like they're together when season 3 begins?
Goodness, that's a good question. Gosh, where's Esther Perel when you need her? I think that their relationship's definitely fractured. I think it's like a shell of its former self. And I think so much time has passed and they've obviously experienced wildly different things and experienced that with other people in more ways than one. But, you know, I think that they're just trying to lean back into the familiarity and like the comfort that they had in season 1 and that sense of home. And I think that in a weird way, they're hiding the most from each other, but they're also showing themselves the most vulnerably to each other in episode 1. You know, like Egwene has a complex around her neck and being touched there, and Rand's got his wound from the battle and farm. And even though there's so much that they're not saying to each other, they're still caring for each other in that way and connecting and giving themselves to each other physically. I think emotionally, obviously, they're like, you know, light years apart. But yeah, I think in terms of the cheating allegations, he's not going to outrun those. Not for long.
Something I really liked about, you know, the season, especially in episode 5, where she's starting to learn with the Aiel, like how to dreamwalk and stuff. Like, she spent so much of last season almost powerless, like with Dungeon and like captured and stuff. And here it seems like she's starting to learn this new kind of agency. Like, did you feel like that was a turning point for her as a character in terms of like where she's going to be in terms of embracing her power later on?
Absolutely. And you're so right of last season, her being completely powerless. She felt powerless at the White Tower. She felt powerless in farm. And the only way she was going to get out of those situations is she was going to pull herself out herself. Whilst Rhaena was obviously a brutal enslaver, she also really taught Egwene how powerful she can be and that she is special. And I think that's something that she's carried with her and she will carry with her for the rest of her life. In season 3, I think, you know, the world is constantly evolving and she's a real novice of the world and fully throws herself into any experience that she's in, which is wonderful as an actor to see the world through her eyes. But I think with the dream walking, you know, that's just another element of the magic that exists in the world and what her capabilities are. And again, the dream walking is something that's going to, you know, anchor her and Rand together forever. You know, even though they, you know, may no longer be lovers, I think that love will still always be there and they will still always be anchors for each other.
The whole dreamwalking thing is like such a huge part of the books and something I think people are like have been so looking forward to. Did that, like, was there any part of the arc that you were looking forward to specifically because of that, or nervous about maybe?
Absolutely. I mean, you never really know how we can articulate or translate these big moments on screen. What I am excited about is some of the moments where Egwene is dreamwalking in the books, and season 3 is actually the closest season to the books so far in the series. We do pull a lot from the books in the scenes of Egwene dreamwalking and the elements of, you know, your clothes changing depending on how you're feeling. That was really exciting to shoot because that was one of my favorite moments from, you know, those books.
Yeah. Even just her, like the armor coming on was such a small moment. I was like, it's happening. It's so cool.
Totally. And I think that's when I saw it the other day, you know, that scene of the armor going, it's just incredible. It's incredible. Yeah, it's amazing.
Just because you mentioned this being like the closest adaptation. I mean, I know you guys had crazy challenges through both other seasons of the show and production. Like, did this feel like the smoothest, I guess? Like, did it feel like everything was finally how it was supposed to be in terms of making the show?
I mean, it was tricky because you know, we were, as the whole industry was dealing with you know, the strikes, and so that was obviously a challenge for everyone in the industry. But I think most of my shooting was in South Africa, which was at the end of the shoot. And gosh, I think the hardest thing there was like the weather, because we were shooting in the middle of the summer and you're in the desert and everyone's in, you know, their leathers and boots and this and that. And you're like, oh God, I did a fitting for this in Prague in winter. And now it's like, you know, middle of summer in South Africa. But that was also one of like, the most special moments, as well as getting the opportunity to shoot on location and interact with tangible sets and be out in the elements. That really helps inform your performance and your energy. And I think, like, you know, it binds you together as a cast and crew. So I think that was probably the biggest challenge for me, but it was also one of the biggest gifts.
So Egwene and Rand in episode 5 share like the Wheel of Time's most awkward kiss, where where like she's going off the train and Rand's like, we haven't had a moment alone since Ruidian. What do you feel like was going through her mind, like in that kind of moment? Like, do you feel like she's afraid of Rand now that he can channel and stuff, or is it just kind of they're growing apart?
I think that she's wanting her skills to evolve, and she's wanting to advance as soon as she can and as quick as she can, because I think she knows that it's like an impending doom of the last battle coming. And like Moraine, she wants to be there by Rand's side to either support him to, you know, save the world, or if he's going to break it, to be one of the people to take him out, essentially, which is something that I think haunts her. And so everything that she is doing this season, I think, is to like grow her strength, advance her skills so she can be prepared. So I think her going off and doing this and wanting to train with the wise ones, that's where that comes from. But I think because they still have that relationship that they did in season 1, I think Rand's interpreting it as, well, I'm choosing my own thing over you. Like, I want to spend time with them over you, which becomes like a, you know, they clash over. But really, he doesn't know what her real motive for training as much as she is. I
really loved a moment towards the end of this, before the very, very end, where like you're going into everyone else's dreams and you're kind of like learning things about everyone. Like Perrin is with Fael, Elaine and Avienda, you know, are having a moment and stuff. Like, was it hard to play those in a way that didn't feel like too creepy? Like, she's not just standing there like, invading everyone's dreams. And like, were there other takes in terms of like wanting to do different reactions from Egwene to what she was seeing, or what was it like to put those together?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, thank you for that question. It definitely was, I think with the Rand stream, that's where I felt like the biggest creep, obviously, knowing what was going on, just being like, but it was really moving. It was really moving because we're seeing these characters in their most authentic, honest selves, and they have none of their guards up. And in a way, it's where they're happiest. And I think for a moment, you know, this ability that she has in this moment, she's really able to see her friends for who they are. And even though so much time has passed and all of them have experienced so many different things on their journeys, they haven't really spoken about it, but she can feel what they feel in those moments. And I feel like she can see where they've gone and where they've come from in the time that they've spent apart. And that's one of the beautiful things about this ability and this gift. A particularly moving moment was, I mean, gosh, they were all so sad, but with Zoe, watching Zoe and her, daughter from the Archers was just like,
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved that. I'm a massive warrior, like, in real life anyways, I'm like, love a good people watching moment. So it felt very real to me.
We had a saying in the Two Rivers about a watched pot never boiling.